It is 8:35. And even though we are small in numbers, we do have a couple of people that are here for the first time. For those that are here, I am Laura McClady, one of the facilitators for the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, along with Jackie Edwards Walton, Natalie McGarrett, Winston Robinson, and Saritha Sherrill, and Steve Johnson. And those other facilitators that are not here are Carlenia, Ivory Canty, and Mary Johnson. Thank you all for coming this morning, and we'd like to get started with the word of prayer. And Saritha, would you lead us in a word of prayer?
Good morning. Bow your heads and join me in a prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for our lives, for our health, for our strength. Bless this day for us, our nation, our state, our county, our city, and even our neighborhoods. Bless the children, God, everywhere. It is in your Son Jesus' name I pray, and we pray together. Let us say together, amen.
Thank you, Saritha. What I will be doing is introducing our speaker this morning, who is Mr. Victor Mack from UNCC's STEM program, and he will introduce the speakers that he has brought with him this morning. Now, just for your sake, the way we facilitate is that you do a presentation, and if all of you would like to speak, you can do so. You don't necessarily have to use the microphone, but you can. And we will allow questions to be asked after the presentation. We will facilitate that, and we would ask those that are asking the questions to, for no more than 30 seconds to a minute to ask your question. And you have, well, this morning, you may not get a lot of questions, so you have as long as you want to answer those questions. So, we do that facilitating, and we do it by recognition of hands. And as I explained to Mr. Mack, for those of you that are here for the first time, we never know who's we send out invitations to many people. We never know who's going to show up, and they will be coming in respectfully and leaving respectfully as well. And we will end it at a quarter of 10, so we can get announcements. So without any further ado, Mr. Victor Mack.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Steve, is my mic working?
The green button is
Let's try it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to first and foremost say thank you to the Sarah Stevenson Breakfast Forum for allowing me to come in and present this morning and share a little bit of information with you all regarding the STEM Pre-College program at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, which is actually housed within the Cato College of Education, and also some information regarding the 100 Black Men of Charlotte, and in particular their Movement of Youth program. I do have the illustrious pleasure of also joining me, our new dean, Dean Malcolm Butler, who actually started with us at the university in the Cato College of Education on January 31st, and also our newly re-elected president for the 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte, Mr. Aaron Means. I first and foremost would talk about the STEM Pre-College program, We'll give the opportunity for Dean Butler to say a few words, and then I'll share again some more information regarding the 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte and their Movement of Youth program. And so just to give a little bit of background information regarding the pre-college program, my first stint in actually serving as leadership for the program back in 1997, we actually did a presentation at the National Science Teachers Association National Conference down in New Orleans back in 1997. And that particular presentation, 6 other pre-college coordinators, which actually formed the what was then the North Carolina Mathematics Science Education Network pre-college program, did a joint presentation. It was actually called The Best Kept Secret in North Carolina. And the reason why we chose that name, even though we were highly effective in providing mathematics and science enrichment as far as throughout the state, very few people really knew about the program, the services that we actually provided, and the success that we had as far as our students actually matriculating from high school to college, and in particular also majoring in STEM majors and careers. And so, needless to say, that's one of the reasons that the impetus for me doing this presentation this morning is I still feel like the program is very much still that secret, and something that many of us that are stakeholders within the program, and unfortunately, the Math Science Education Network went dormant a few years ago, but there are still pre-college programs at Elizabeth City State University, North Carolina State University, and Winston-Salem State University, and we still form a loosely, I guess you say, fitted mathematics and science education network, and we're still looking at doing a collaborative effort as far as that particular program, as far as our annual, what's called MSN Day or STEM Day, which will take place this upcoming spring. It's all of the program participants will converge for an annual competition where we'll highlight science fair, science Olympiad type activities, and some academic testing. This is celebrate academic excellence as far as our students, and being able to also give those students to also be able to peer network amongst each other as far as meeting students from other, I guess you say, regions within the state, and to be able to also share experiences and also opportunities again to network as many of these students actually see each other and when they actually enter college as far as that's concerned. So we'll have the PowerPoint for the presentation as far as it's concerned up and running in just a moment.
For an hour and a half. In any case, the slides will be on the web page.
Okay.
If I can't get those.
Okay. No worries. So without further ado, I'll roll right into the program as far as this concerned on the presentation. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not only a member as the old commercial goes, I'm actually a product of the program. Actually, when the program actually received initial funding from the state legislature back in 1984, I was one of the few students that actually started in the program back in 1986 with the pre-college program in North Carolina A&T State University. Actually matriculated through the program from 1986 through my high school graduation. Actually served as a tutor for the program, also throughout my college years, as far as that's concerned. And so after graduating, decided to come to teach in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools as a math teacher. After about 2 years of teaching, I had the opportunity to actually become the assistant coordinator for the pre-college program, the same one that's within the same North Carolina Mathematics and Science Education Network pre-college program here in Charlotte, at UNC Charlotte. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was interesting as far as the social piece is concerned. As I was mentioning, being able to network and meet other peers as far as that's concerned. As I went in for that interview to become the new assistant coordinator back in 1996, I already knew all the players at the table, whether it's the state coordinator, the local coordinator, even some of the teachers that actually participated on that selection committee, I felt at home. I was able to speak regarding my experiences with the program, how I engaged as far as the Saturday Academy Summer Scholars Program, and even tutoring kids while I was there at North Carolina A&T. And so served as the assistant coordinator for 2 years. And then after that, I was lucky enough in 1998 to become the pre-college coordinator and provided leadership for it through 2006. After such, unfortunately, I had to make a choice between family and serving the pre-college program. And I had 2 young boys, and I wanted to be on the soccer field with them on Saturday. So I made the transition as far as to becoming the new director of education outreach at that time for the Cato College of Education. And so, fortunately for me, our longtime director for the Center for STEM Education, Dr. David Pugley, still kept me engaged as far as the pre-college program was concerned, serving on this advisory committee, multiple other roles as far as making sure that that long-lasting legacy as far as the program was concerned stayed in place and was still helping students that look like many of us in the room matriculate to college and also STEM majors and careers. And so, again, that focus as far as the program is just that. One, to help students, traditionally minoritized students from grades 6 through 12, actually matriculate to college, and also two, for them to go into STEM majors and careers. Unfortunately, for me, I actually said I wanted to be an engineer since middle school, as far as that's concerned. And when I got to school at North Carolina A&T State University, it didn't feel like engineering was a fit for me. And as part of, again, that networking, that social piece, which I feel like is very important, that social capital piece, one of my mentors, Dr. Gilbert Castleton, said, come on home, come on to the math department. And so the rest was history. Was able to finish in mathematics education and was able to go on and become a teacher as far as that's concerned. And so I think that that's one of the primary focuses of the program. It's not just those numbers as far as being able to nurture students and encourage them to, again, pursue those STEM majors and careers, but also for them to have those networks, because you never know, later in life may be able to play a critical role as far as your growth and development as far as that's concerned. So the program has a few key programs that I've already mentioned. Saturday Academy program, which takes place for about 9 Saturdays during the academic year. We have a focus on a mathematics class, a science class, and we also bring in role model speakers on those Saturdays. And those role model speakers can range from STEM professionals there at the university, also local business and industry as far as that's concerned. And also we try as much as possible to reach out to our student organizations there on campus. Because many of the pre-college kids want to hear from the college kids. And so whether they have an interest in rocketry, any of those type of organizations, whether it be physics, chemistry, you name it, we have those student organizations also come in to help mentor our kids as far as the program is concerned. Along with those guest speakers, we also have a staff of certified teachers that also work with our students to also provide math, science enrichment. These are certified math and science teachers from Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and from the surrounding area, and they provide that STEM enrichment. It's very much the objective of our organization. Along with the Saturday Academy program, we also do a Summer Scholars program, which is actually transitioned over the previous years. It was very much set up within a framework as far as the Saturday Academy with the math and science classes as far as that's concerned. And also had traditionally provided career explorations and even communications courses as far as that's concerned. But in recent years, we've transitioned to a week-long theme, whether it be medical technology or physics in action. Many of which of these themes are pretty much kind of reminiscent of campus on campus at the university as far as that's concerned. So students actually, they're able to specialize within a given topic, generate a product by the end of their experience at the end of that particular week as far as that particular campus. And so, along with the Summer Scholars and also the Saturday Academy program is a program that I kind of hold very near and dear, which is our research experience program. Back in 1998, we received a National Science Foundation grant for the pre-college research experiences program. And it allowed rising juniors and seniors during the summer to come and do a 6 to 8 week research experience there on the campus of UNC Charlotte. And so we pair them with a scientist mentor, and those students were responsible for actually completing a science project. They had responsibilities as far as completing a research paper, a PowerPoint presentation, also journaling their experience there at UNC Charlotte with their scientist mentor, and also some follow-up activities, whether it be with the science fair, with the Science Olympiad, the Junior Science Humanities and Symposium, other opportunities for them to also, again, mingle with other competitors from throughout the state, including students from the North Carolina School of Science and Math. And many of our students found that the research that they were generating were very much not only competitive with their peers at these other high-end institutions, but even with some of the college kids, as far as that's concerned, for students that were participating in similar programs, such as the Ron Lee McNair Postbaccalaureate program that we've also hosted for years there for our college students at UNC Charlotte. And so National Science Foundation continued to fund that program beyond the 3-year period that we actually received funding for. As a matter of fact, for a total of 5 years. And we were able to institutionalize it. Dr. Pugley and I were able to find funds there within our budget to support those anywhere from 10 to 15 students that annually participated in that particular program. And many of those students have gone on to do great things. In particular, one of our graduates, Dr. Jeremy Feaster, was actually one of those kids who not only did the Saturday Academy, the Summer Scouts program for many years, but he also competed in the Research Experience program. I'll never forget his project. He actually did a project on a gas mask, a very inexpensive gas mask that was developed with Dr. Tom Schmedeke within our chemistry department. And he went on to Georgia Tech, did very well there, and also matriculated on to Caltech and finished up his doctoral degrees, and now is actually leading a lab, I want to say at Stanford University, and has also established his own foundation where he's also giving back and also giving scholarships to students, again, that look like many of us in the room, and making sure that those students also have the opportunities that he had when he came through the program. Tyra Pendergrass, also another local student who graduated from Harding University High School, also had a similar experience as Jeremy and is now working at Yale. Is also working with a similar program, also providing research experiences for college students there as part of their environmental science program. And so there are numerous success stories that I can speak of as far as this particular program and those students that are actually giving back in a similar fashion to what we've actually been able to do here and sustain here at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And so with all that said, each one of you all have a handout, and we'll also post as far as with the announcements, information as far as enrollment with the program. We will be conducting enrollment as far as the pre-college program through September 30th. We will have our first engagement on September 8th, which will be online. It'll be a Zoom. We'll do an orientation and also follow it up with a speaker from the university, Dr. Marlon Mayers, be presenting. And we'll actually do our first in-person on September 17th as far as that's concerned. And so, again, if any of you all have questions regarding enrollment in that particular process, I'm happy to address. You can reach out to me, and we'll do our best to make sure that your child is engaged as far as the program is concerned. At this time, I would like to state that the Cato College of Education has been very much supportive as far as the pre-college program is concerned, and sustaining this program and making sure that we keep that pipeline of minority students actually having the opportunity to not only attend college, but again, address the critical need as far as STEM majors are concerned. And that support wouldn't be possible if the Cato College of Education wasn't consistent, making sure that the budget and resources were made available to support the program. I do have the distinct honor and privilege of recognizing at this particular time our new dean, Dean Malcolm Butler. He actually started with us on January 31st, and he's been a breath of fresh air as far as the Cato College of Education is concerned, and his leadership is really directing us to new horizons. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Dean Butler to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Mack. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for doing it. I'm used to call and response, so I appreciate your acknowledgement. I bring you greetings on behalf of over 2,000 plus faculty, staff, and students in the Cato College of Education. We are honored and always appreciative of the opportunity to share with our community partners about the great work that we do in our college. As Dr. Mack said, I started January 31 of this year, and so these opportunities to start engaging with the community are critical to my success and to our success. I'm originally from Louisiana, so I grew up in a family of 10 children. I'm the baby. I'm sure most of you know what that means. Even though I have gray hair, I'm still called the baby when I go home. I am the proud graduate of an HBCU, Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that set the stage for where I am and why I sit with you here today. I've been fortunate to engage and learn with lots of young children, everything from our youngest all the way up to I have a few doc students left to get through the pipeline. I actually was reflecting as Dr. Mack was sharing about our programs in the Cato College of Education, our Center for STEM Education, and the work we do. When I was growing up in my community, as I said, I had many advocates, including 8 older brothers and sisters. One of my sisters passed away when she was 18 months old, so I didn't know her. But the other 8 siblings always advocated for each other. And it just so happened that one of my sisters, who was 16 years older than me, was an educator. And so in the school system, she always made sure that we were aware of resources, opportunities, challenges, everything in the landscape of what was happening in education. She was such an advocate to the point that I was fortunate to be identified as the first gifted and talented student in our school district. Now, mind you, that didn't happen because I was so talented necessarily or gifted necessarily. It was because I had a sister who said, here's this unique opportunity, and here's a child that can take advantage of the resources that might come with this opportunity. Subsequently, after I was tested and identified, there were many other kids that wound up getting tested after me to see if they would be eligible for the program. But that particular opportunity and being identified as gifted and talented because of my sister and her many teacher colleagues, I was able to take advantage of many programs. I had access to one of the first computing programming programs in the district. Actually got to go to LSU in Baton Rouge to take summer computer science programs and camps, and it set the stage for all of that work. As a result of that, I wound up getting my undergrad degree in physics. Really did the degree in physics because education was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make the world a better place through science. And so when I got in physics, I was fascinated with solid states physics and it fluoride crystals and doing all this cool stuff. And I actually went to college to work on my PhD in physics at the University of Florida. Now, some people say I met my wife during that time, so that's when things changed. I like to say, yes, that's a part of the equation. We've been married 30 years, and she's still my girlfriend. I also know that I had a chance to be a part of a summer, not summer, but an after-school program at one of the local United Methodist churches in Gainesville, Florida. And in working with young children in that program, I became fascinated about learning and teaching young people. And subsequently, I wound up changing from being in physics and pursuing my PhD in physics to navigating and pivoting to education. And so a long history of teaching young children, elementary, middle, high school basketball coach, and doing all of those things, working at 4 other universities, lands me here in Charlotte to continue to try to do good work. I truly feel like this is the venue where I'm supposed to be right here, right now. And I know the work that we're doing in the Cato College of Education, that stage was already set before I got here. That was the attractor for me coming here, and now to continue to be engaged in the community and with partners who want to make a difference in the lives of young people and families is why I sit here today in the most humble way I can think of as a servant leader working with my colleagues in the Cato College of Education and the community to continue this good work. And so I'm going to stop myself there because I hope this is the first of many encounters with each of you. Know that the Cato College of Education is invested, has always been invested in the community. And as long as I serve as dean, we will continue that trajectory. I constantly ask us to think about the and. In fact, Dr. Mack will hear more about this in our conversations individually and also on Thursday, talking about the and. What else can we be doing? Talking about we're doing these things and what else can we do? And as servants, that I think is what we're called to do, to constantly think about all the good work we're doing and what else can we do? So again, thank you for giving me a few minutes. Thank you, Dr. Mack, for giving me the invitation to be here. And I look forward to hopefully answering any questions you might have for me at that point in time in the meeting, and also hopefully having a chance to engage with you beyond today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Butler. I want to kind of change gears now and speak a little bit about the 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte and their mentoring initiatives. Had the distinct honor of actually working with a couple of charter schools during my professional experience. During that experience, had the opportunity to meet Mr. Means, Mr. Aaron Means, and back in 2019, we reconnected and he shared with me some information regarding 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte. And through sharing some of that information, he informed me they had a Saturday Academy. And I said, you should have started with that. And so the rest is history. I ended up joining the organization in April 2019 and shortly thereafter became their Vice President of Education. And it's been a great experience for me ever since. And so the 100 is very much a brotherhood that is very much committed to enriching the lives of our youth, in particular our African American males. And so at this time, I'll go ahead and I'll give President Means, our newly elected President Means, an opportunity to share a little bit of information.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate that. As he said, I'm Aaron Means. I am the newly elected, I won't say the oldly elected president, because I served the last 3 years. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 100. I'm going to more or less give an overview, and then we're kind of going to get into the meat of some of our programs. The 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte improves the quality of life of the communities we serve. Now, mentoring is our core service. That's kind of what it's all about. We work with kids. I call them kids because I'm getting kind of long in the tooth, right? I'm in you get your 70s, like everybody's kids, right? But that's we're probably the largest African American male mentoring organization in the nation. We've got about 100 chapters spread all over the United States. We've got chapters in London. We've got chapters in Turks and Caicos. And we're looking at bringing chapters online in Bahamas, Nigeria, and South Africa. We influence and transform the lives of underrepresented and disenfranchised youth with a focus on African American youth. Now, we do have some programs that do have females, and we'll talk about that a little later. Through our platform of Mentoring the 100 Way, which is mentoring across a lifetime. I've had mentees that have been out of our program for several years, and I still get several calls from them every month wanting to know what to do in this particular situation or that particular situation. So it is mentoring across a lifetime. We provide programmatic services and education. We call these our 4 pillars: education, health and wellness, economic empowerment, and leadership development, which makes a fundamental difference in the lives of the youth we touch and the communities that we serve. In fact, our mission statement is enriching the lives of African American youth through economic empowerment, mentoring, education, and economic empowerment. So with that, why don't I get into, since we don't have the slides, you want me to?
It's totally.
You want me to run through it? Okay.
I don't mind.
All right, 100 Black Men. 100 Black Men actually started in New York City back in 1963 when a group of distinguished men were sitting around a table. Guess what? They were kind of dealing with some of the same issues that we're dealing with today. I said, man, what are we going to do? We've got some great guys here. We've got some very powerful gentlemen here. We've got some representatives of the community. what are we gonna call ourselves? So they looked around the room, it's about 100 guys in there. They said, well, why don't we call ourselves the 100 Black Men? So a lot of people wonder where that acronym came from. That's actually where it came from. Fast forward, the 100 actually was chartered here in Charlotte, I believe in 1991 by a guy by the name of Lenny Springs. And we call him the godfather of the organization. And if you go to any 100 function, you'll see him around. But let's kind of talk about what we actually do to serve the students. I call it our Cadillac program because it is our main program. It's called Movement of Youth University. And as Dr. Mack says, we have the pleasure of hosting it on the campus of UNCC. Thank you very much. The kids actually come in around 9 o'clock in the morning. We have a brief homeroom. And then they're divided by age and by subject, and they'll spend about 40 to 45 minutes in a class on health and wellness, education, mentoring, and economic empowerment. So it's kind of like school. Yes, it is kind of like school. The big difference is typically the speakers that come in and talk to these kids, they look like us. We have a saying that says, what they see is what they'll be. So we want to make sure that they see that there's a future there. There's a guy that looks like me. I can do that. There's no reason why I can't do that. And what we try to do is to provide them with a roadmap to get there. Case in point, I think last year we had in our health and wellness class, we had probably 15 classes. And during those 15 classes, we had 15 different African-American doctors come in and talk to these kids about their area of expertise and any health issues associated with it. So not only did they get the information about health and wellness, but they got to hear how these guys got to where they are. In other words, they got the full Monty. They learned about where they went to school, some of the trials and tribulations that they had to experience in getting there. And that kind of helps a lot, because a lot of kids say, oh, I can't do that. I'm in this situation, or I'm in that situation. But when you peel the skin back on the onion, you kind of listen to some of these guys talk about their careers, they find out this guy grew up the same way I did. If he can do it, I can do it. There's no reason why I can't do that. Economic empowerment. A good portion of our guys actually work for the economic institutions that are located here in the city. I think we probably have most of them represented in our membership. They come in, they talk about to the guys about investing, the importance of saving. What's a credit score? I think I was an adult when I found what a credit score was. What's the importance of investing? What is the cycle of money? How does that work? What's debt? What can having a lot of credit do to me, right? Guys, these kids start getting credit cards if they go to college, the first day they register, right? They start pushing credit cards on. Oh man, I got money now. Where I get those Jordans I want? Not knowing the ramifications of running up all of that credit. Mentoring is us. We try to provide one-on-one mentoring for our students. We try to pair them with a business professional that they can talk to, that they can call on when they're having different issues, or if they have questions. It's all about life skills. Now, we've all been through something, and we all have something to share. The same with our membership. We've all been through something. We didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I mean, a lot of us had a lot of trials and tribulations to be successful or to get to the positions where we are today. And a lot of times when you talk to these youth through that, they kind of understand and they say, oh, I can be that. I can do that. What am I missing? Education, the importance of education. Education, I heard somebody say, is the new currency of the 21st century. If you want to get ahead, get an education. Learn how to do something. I'm not saying all of the kids got to come to college. It's not meant for everybody. But get educated on something, be it a trade, be it a particular skill, but learn how to support yourself. And we work with them, providing things on how to study, the importance of study, how to set goals. Kids, you got to set goals. You don't know where you're going unless you got a map to get there. So we try to sit down with them and explain to them the importance of setting goals. What am I missing? Pathways, okay. We have a program called Pathways. Pathways is a program where we take high-achieving high school and college students, and we work with them on corporate tracks. In fact, we have speakers that actually come in from the corporations in the surrounding area, and since we've been doing Zoom, from outside of the local area, to talk to these kids about the importance of working in corporate life and some of the things that you need to know if that's the environment that you want to work on, the skills that you need to have, how to prepare a resume, how do you speak, how do you dress, what does code switching mean? You know, you can't go in there and say, oh, keep it real, right? Well, I can tell you, you're gonna be real broke. In Rome, you do as the Romans do. Businesses want you to look like and represent their customers. And customers mean what? Money, right? So if you're going to be successful in that corporate environment, you've got to learn to do business the way they do business. And sometimes trying to get that principle across to the kids is kind of tough. But once they go through our Pathways program, they know that. They know how to map these things out. They know how to investigate and study a career and learn what's going to be necessary. What does the roadmap look like to get me where I want to go? We give scholarships to our kids. We gave, I know, about $20,000 in scholarships just this last year. Now, we have criteria just like any other school that you have to meet in order to get the scholarship. But we do provide scholarships to our kids. We provide tutoring for our kids. Kids in our program have grades, and I always say that you're underwater. And they say, well, Mr. Mays, what do you mean by underwater? I said, below sea level, right? Then we will make sure that you have an opportunity to receive tutoring. We have another program, we call it the Titan program. We found out that a lot of our kids, when they graduate from high school, it's kind of a conundrum. They don't really know what they want to do. Well, you know, I'm not sure I want to go to college. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. And this reverts back to our saying, mentoring for a lifetime. We want to be able to still work with these kids. What we're doing is we designed this Titan program where we're working with the kids. Let us sit down. Let's talk about what you want to do. Is there a trade that you would like to do? Would you like to work automotive? Would you like to be a carpenter? Would you like to be a bricklayer? Would you like to weld? Make some really good money. You know, I mean, plumbers make money. They make big money, right? So do auto mechanics. I visited CPCC the other day. They took me through their automotive program. Man, I went down that lab. They've got Teslas. They got BMWs. They've got Mercedes, and they're working. Their hoods are up, and their kids are working on these cars. It was fascinating, right? And right now, there are a lot of programs for kids, black and brown, that look like us. Somebody tell me what the tuition is. Anybody? Zero. Free 99, right? There are programs out there where these kids can go to school for absolutely free, graduate in 2 years, come out debt-free, and make anywhere between $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. No debt. What do you think about that? It's a great opportunity. Right? So if we got some kids that are in that vein, let us know. We'll see what we can do to help them out. And I'm missing Triple P. Triple P. Triple P. Triple P. One of the things that we found out in working with our parents, we work with the kids. We work with the kids, and then they go right back into an environment that's sometimes a little bit hostile. So I don't know if many of you have heard of Triple P mentoring. So we have classes where we work with our parents on how to work with the kids in a very positive, non-threatening manner. And for our parents, these classes are mandatory in order for your children to be in our program. And we work with them, we teach them how do you change the attitude, how do you sit down, how do you talk to your kids, how do you do a behavior contract, how do you diffuse a situation when your kid comes in from school mad, what do you do? And we've been working with the parents. And the parents are a little resistant at first. And they come into the Triple P class and they sit down and they start to talk. You know, Sister Jane's having the same problem I am. Sister Mary's having the same problem I am. I thought this was unique. Come to find out, a lot of you are having the same problems. They talk about and they share solutions. And that works very well. We have collegiate chapters. We have collegiate chapters on the campuses of the area colleges. We've got one in process at UNCC. We've got one at Livingston College, and we're in the process of putting one at the Johnson C. Smith University. So that's just a few of the programs that we actually have here in the Charlotte area. And that's not to get into the national network where we actually take a group of the kids every year to our national conventions, where they get to meet kids from all over the country and in many cases all over the world. And they see a lot of positive kids doing a lot of positive things. But with our kids, it's always good to get them out of their normal environment and get them into an environment and say, everybody's not running around doing this and doing that. We've got some kids that are actually on a right track, doing some very positive thinking, and are going to do some very great things. So talk to them, they meet each other, they get to talk, they get to share ideas, they get to share futures. And it's a great thing. We also take our seniors to Washington every year, something that we started last year. So it's not just sitting around in a classroom, it's not just being able to linger with like-minded kids and positive adults, but they do get to do some travel and see some things outside of their normal areas. So with that, I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions. Just let me know.
Okay.
One other piece I did want to make mention of was community advocacy programs that the 100 does sponsor, one of which was our teacher-to-teacher conference there at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. The 100 has been a sponsor for the past 2 years as far as that particular conference is concerned, recognizing how important education is and preparation of teachers, and also sharing best practices within the context of the classroom. We also had a barbershop forum. We also hosted this past spring where Fred Shropshire from WCNC, one of their anchors, actually moderated with Spencer Merriweather, District Attorney for Charlotte-Mecklenburg, also was in attendance with several representatives from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. And so, along with the community health fair and other opportunities to engage the community, the 100 has been a leader and is, again, in numerous opportunities, have not only partnered with the Cato College of Education, but also with the community at large. And so, with that being said, we look forward to a continuous partnership between not only the STEM pre-college program, but also with the 100, the movement of youth. And again, we'd love to see any youth that you all know of or aware of. Please have them contact me. Again, my information is on the card that's been disseminated here. Steve will assist with also making sure that my information is also available on the website. And so, with that being said, we'd like to open it up to questions.
Okay, and just a reminder of the way we facilitate the questions and answers. We would ask you to identify the person that you'd like to ask your question to, since we have 3 different entities represented here. Or if you want all 3 of them to answer the question that you ask, you will indicate that as well. And our first question will come from Connie Rose.
Yeah, I really admire your organization. I respect what you're doing. But why you don't have some kind of program on entrepreneurship? Since we're in America, and that's what America is known for, entrepreneurship, it's the biggest capitalist country in the world. So why you don't have something on entrepreneurship?
So I appreciate. Let's try that again. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think it does.
You don't have to use the mic.
Okay.
There's mics in the room.
Sure. I appreciate the question. The 100 Black Men and their Movement of Youth program, again, one of their one of their for the future or pillars is the economic empowerment pillar. And entrepreneurship, many role models that are actually with the banks, as Brother Means actually made mention of, and also they have their own businesses as far as that's concerned, do come in and role model speak during those Saturday academies and doing some of our summer enrichment programming. So we do our best to try to encourage financial literacy and that whole piece as far as economic empowerment is concerned.
I think one of the modules that we actually have in our Pathways program is entrepreneurship. And I do think they spend considerable time talking about entrepreneurship.
We need you to, use the mic, we can't hear you.
I was saying, part of our Pathways program, we do provide a segment on entrepreneurship. And I know they do spend considerable time working with the young men on the process of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of kids say, well, I want to be an entrepreneur. So do you actually know what that means, right? So, well, I don't want to work hard. So, well, do you want to be an entrepreneur? If you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself, right? So we do work on that. We talk to them. We talk to them about the process and some of the things that are going to actually be involved if you want to really become an entrepreneur, right?
Just a quick comment. I just got to university, and the more I learn about the work we're doing, I'm not aware of what programs we have specifically designed for youth. But what I think some of us know is that as adults, we're not familiar with how to start a business, how to run a business, how to put together a business plan. And so UNC Charlotte actually has an incubator on campus where folks can come in and actually rent space. We also have people in our College of Business who actually put on workshops. And many of those programs are free for adults who want to understand how to establish a business, how to market it, all of those things that we know are critical to a business's success. So not familiar with what we do for young people, but certainly understanding that as adults who have really good ideas and want to take a business forward and take that idea into a business, what can we do to support those folks in the community? I know that UNC Charlotte has programs that cater to those adults who want to start businesses as well.
Okay, Jack.
Is there any collaboration with the program Profound Gentlemen? And that is a group of teachers of color, male teachers.
We actually do have a member of the 100 Black Men, Mr. Bill Cook, who's actually a member of Profound Gentlemen. We've actually sought ways in the past in which we can collaborate between the 100 and not only Profound Gentlemen, but Profound Gentlemen is actually in collaboration with Shanique Lee, our teacher recruiter for the Cato College of Education. They've served as mentors to many of our students, in particular our upperclassmen, as they begin to transition into their own respective classrooms. And so we've explored it, and we continue to do so.
In fact, we have a group called the Profound Niners, which is a take on our university's mascot, the 49ers, and it's tied to the Profound Gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Where's my last?
Have it's for all of you. In particular, you talk about. I'm interested that you mentor youth with each of with everybody's programs. But since this is, I think it's awesome. My son, one of the jobs he wants to do is be a toxicologist, among a million other things. But I'm particularly wondering if there is any assistance that you guys provide CMS students in terms of math, because if you look at the math scores, like for ninth graders, like Math 1 ninth graders, Black students, only 8%. It's only 8%. So 92% are don't score at a level of college and career readiness. So, I mean, obviously that's a huge gap and barrier. So if you're already in the ninth grade, I mean, I'm not saying it can't be turned around. Obviously it can be. Like, what efforts do you guys make to kind of, if you have anything to kind of close that gap so we can get folks, Black students, interested in or in these career fields?
So within the context of the STEM pre-college program, again, as I mentioned earlier, they do have certified teachers that are facilitating those math and science classes. Where there is a particular need, tutoring is actually provided on an individual basis as far as their enrichment and so forth. But one of the key focuses of the program is to make sure that kids see a connection with application. I guess you say between the curriculum and application as far as those particular concepts are concerned. And so by giving those kids problem-based learning tasks, we believe that they're making those connections as far as theories and other topics that may be considered in their traditional mathematics class, and also seeing how those particular theorems and concepts are actually applied in real world. And so hopefully by making those connections, we'll see some improvement as far as that's concerned. Oh, and I'm sorry, also, the 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte also provides tutoring, also on an individual basis. And they'll actually pair members or mentees with a service provider in close proximity to their home. And there is a budgeted amount as far as that's concerned, but they'll do the best to address their individual needs within those tutoring sessions.
Good morning. Dr. Butler and Dr. Mack brought up a point of, and Mr. Means brought up a point of nurturing these abilities for young men to excel in these professions. However, it seems that the divide comes from standardized test taking that has proven to be biased. So I wanted to know if there's an approach on teaching or facilitating ways for these young men to approach the standardized test that may prohibit them from even joining something in which they seek interest. You mentioned SCP, there are different programs. I know the dental hygiene program, which dental hygienists can come out making about 75 to 80 grand a year, is about 90% white women. However, the CNA program is about 85% Black women. And the divide is the standardized test to get each program is significantly easier from the CNA program. So is there an approach with the young Black men or the Black boys that you have to approach the standardized test that will prohibit or allow them to excel in these careers?
I'll start in general, and then you can go into specifics. Sure. So I think I mentioned earlier about the and. I think that's a perfect example of what I'm referencing is how do we prepare students to be successful in these tests, because those become gatekeepers. We were talking earlier about mathematics. Algebra is a gatekeeper for many of our math and science-based careers. So how do we help students be successful while also speak to the issue from a policy standpoint when it comes to the cultural bias built into these assessments? And so that's an and. We know that the test is there. We have the same thing when it comes to folks wanting to go into education and become teachers. There are tests that they have to pass. Well, we know many of those tests have cultural biases built into them, baked into them. How do we help people who we know are going to be phenomenal teachers to pass those tests? Because we know if they're at A, in order to get to C, they have to go through B. How do we prepare them to be successful while we also have people advocating for changes in the assessment? So in general, part of my career has been about how do we address these concerns while also preparing folks to be successful in those settings as well. I think we have to have that two-prong attack, and I'm sure Dr. Mack and Mr. Means can speak about some of the specific work we're doing, but those are the ways we attack these issues, including referencing our colleague's question about the mathematics and how do we prepare kids. I've actually tutored young people with the family where someone wants to be a veterinarian, and here they are, a junior in high school, and they're in a general mathematics class. So this child has high aspirations, and yet the preparation for her to be successful has not taken place. So what happens? Now I have to talk with the mom and say, look, we got to get her out of this general math class. Nothing wrong with general math, but she needs to be taking geometry. We need her in pre-calculus by the time she graduates. And A in general math is not going to do the thing. We need her to get a B or C in pre-calculus. That B or C, even though it's not an A, is actually better off with the C in pre-calculus than the A in general math. And so part of it becomes the education. I guess the point that I'm making is there's some ands in there, and that's hard work. We're not talking about something easy. we're also talking about something that's necessary. And so, again, for me, both and. If the assessment is there, if the test is there, we know there are biases built in, how do we still help people to be successful? Because somebody's passing those tests. So what is that quote-unquote secret sauce for passing those tests? That's what we have to help folks to figure out, while we also address the concerns associated with some of the issues and the biases built into those different assessments. I think we have to do both.
So one of the initiatives that both the 100 and also the STEM pre-college program do is actually provide an SAT prep. It's one of the first gatekeepers that many of our young people will encounter as far as that's concerned. And so not only are we trying to look at providing test prep during those particular engagements on Saturdays or during the summer, but we're also looking at potentially giving them opportunities through computer programming to where they can actually have access to it on their own time or during their leisure, to where they can access games and other curriculum that actually support that test preparation, in particular for the SAT and also the ACT. And so, again, it's an ongoing process. Unfortunately, as Dean Butler mentioned, these gatekeeper tests are a part of our lives right now. And we're doing our best to try to mitigate some of those circumstances that do not set our students up for success within that realm.
Some of the activities that we actually provide for the kids, so they understand the importance of those disciplines. We also provide robotics, we provide drones classes for the kids so they can actually become certified in flying drones. We don't teach the math ourselves. We refer them to Mathnasium and to Silman Learning Centers, where they've got professionals that can actually work with them and on this SAT and ACT prep. And it's something that we will also look into providing from the 100 as well.
Okay, Natalie?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You mentioned in your intro that you were going to talk about something that you do for females with the 100 Black men. I didn't hear that part.
Okay. We have a couple of programs. The Collegiate Program, I think the chapters that we had at UNC were probably half female.
Exactly.
And so they had opportunities to participate in all the activities that the males could participate in. Also, in our Pathways program, it's open to anybody, female, brown, white, black. It's open to all kids. So they do have an opportunity to participate in those programs.
And the STEM pre-college program is also male and female. We are actually targeting traditionally minoritized populations across the board. So,
yeah. Okay, Juanita?
Good morning.
Good morning.
You represent my alma mater very well. I'm a proud graduate of UNCC. What a great program. The presentation and everything. I wanted to speak on, or ask a question, what is the extent of your technology lessons? I come from a background of law enforcement, and technology plays a huge part in that. So I wanted to elaborate on that, as well as someone contacted me several months ago. If he walked up to me and said, "Boo," I wouldn't know who he was. He called me on the phone. And he had a program advocating for the Black minority students. And he said he was working with the 100 Black men. Does the name Calvin Simmons ring a bell?
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Is this the same program?
Yeah. So I'll be happy to share more about what Mr. Simmons is actually doing.
Okay, this is different from what you all are doing.
So no, it's actually a part of the 100. As far as Brother Simmons is actually looking at erecting the Educational Opportunity Program. He's using a model that was actually first initiated back in the 60s, as far as that's concerned, as far as an in-school component. And we're looking at doing a model at West Charlotte High School and expanding that out to several schools within the district. What we're looking at is actually funding through his model a coach or an education coach at that particular school that will be responsible for 25 scholars. And he would actually start with 9th grade students that will matriculate on each year, adding another class of scholars each, 25 starting in 9th grade each year, as far as that's concerned, until they matriculate on to college. And he's also looking at grant opportunities that actually fund those students with scholarships, so that hopefully there won't be any barriers as far as them being able to complete their college career, as far as that's concerned. And so it's a great opportunity. Again, a lot of it is really, even though we've gotten support from Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and some other community partners, we're still in the process right now of securing grant funds. And so numerous applications are in process right now. And we have a grant writer that's also tackling that. So as far as the technology piece, much like this room, technology surrounds us. And so whether it be with the 100 and the Movement of Youth program or the STEM pre-college program, we have students that are not only engaging, whether it be via PowerPoint or a Canvas course type curriculum as far as that's concerned, but there are multiple opportunities and interactions for our students to engage. Many of our students actually come to, whether it be the STEM pre-college program or Movement of Youth, with a device in their hand. We're doing our best to try to design curriculum that takes advantage of their device in their hand. And so many times we're using applications like Kahoot that encourage each one of the students to actually respond to some type of stimuli or question that we're actually encouraging within the context of the classroom. Also even online research as far as that's concerned, within the context of whatever the subject matter is, whether it be education, economic empowerment, health and wellness, within the context of the 100 or within the context of STEM in our math and science classes for the STEM pre-college program. Each one of our educators and each one of our leaders recognize that the days are gone as far as chalking and talking our kids to death. And so we're doing our very best to make sure that they're technology ready as far as their careers are concerned, and being able to manipulate that to not only promote proficiency, but also efficiency. So yes, ma'am. Oh, and also within the context of coding, we do have a component there also within the 100, as far as we're also trying to teach our students how to effectively code, design, program, which actually promotes problem-solving skills, to be honest with you, and address particular needs. Trying to address problem-solving skills, many of the times coders are actually responsible for addressing a particular need. And so we don't want students, when they're actually engaging in computer science or coding activities, to just simply proofread. A lot of times, unfortunately, and I've seen curriculum designed as such, as far as coding classes, where they're trying to find errors in the code. Unfortunately, what we're really trying to do is actually have them look at what the problem is in general, and actually try to design code to actually meet that particular need. And so many of our instructors are trying to address that.
That's great. Okay, we have Jackie, and Jackie, we have Cedric, and then Tommy, and then Winston again. And we ask you for 30 seconds to have in. If you want all three.
The statistic is that over the last couple of years, in application and enrollment for college is down about 9%. And how do you plan to look at that with the pre-STEM piece? And this question is for Aaron. Aaron, would you give us just a little background about you from IBM and charter schools and all? I think the other two gentlemen did, but you did not. Thank you.
As far as college enrollment, unfortunately, due to COVID and some turnover as far as leadership, and it's one of the reasons why I'm now re-engaged with the STEM pre-college program, our enrollment is also down. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm actually here, is to actually say we want you, and we want not just each one of you, to engage within our parent component and other opportunities to volunteer within the context of the program. But we want your youth. And so we recognize the need. We've all been hibernating for the past 2 to 3 years as far as COVID is concerned. And so within that context, and I'll also give a lot of credit to what the 100 has done to persevere within that context. They've continued not only to provide in-person interactions, but also depending on circumstances on the ground, they moved effectively towards Zoom sessions for our mentees. And we're able to do so in what I feel like was a highly efficient manner, where we had guest speakers coming on, and we're able to do hands-on activities even within the context of Zoom. And so I think we have an uphill battle as far as college enrollment is concerned. I understand those challenges. We do want to see more of our kids matriculate on to college, but we want to make sure that they also have the tools to be able to sustain their college career. Unfortunately, we've seen in one too many instances where some of our students, even some of our scholarship winners with the 100, unfortunately have not completed their collegiate career. And other opportunities, as Brother Means made mention of, as far as the Titan program and being able to go to CPCC, many of our students have found attractive as far as that's concerned. And so trying to provide other opportunities for our students to actually join the workforce and be successful is what we're pursuing. And so I think this collective effort, as far as building synergies between not just our two programs, but also other community groups, I think is pivotal. Girls Who Code, who's also done a presentation here during the Sarah Stevenson Forum, is also a crucial player as far as addressing some of these needs. And there are other groups that I believe that we're all looking forward towards partnering with to address these deficits.
One quick comment before Brother Means, and that is it is apparent in what Dr. Mack just shared, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear. In these partnerships for us, they're reciprocal in nature. So when we talk about working with the community, all of these wonderful camps we put on, we have students on campus, we talk about working with families, the university benefits from those. So it is definitely not a one-way street. When we come, we don't come saying we have all the problems here, all the resources. We're saying let's partner together, because as a result of partnering with our community, our teachers, the people we're preparing to work in our schools, the principals, the counselors, all of those folks who are in our Cato College of Education actually get better at being in the community and how to engage with a parent. And so we benefit greatly from these partnerships. So we want to make sure that as we continue to build out our partnership with all of the organizations in our community, that we paint the picture that there's a lot for us to gain from these relationships as well. And that's critical to, I think, to not only our success, but my success as dean, is to make sure that we acknowledge the capital that's already in our communities, and that we also say we grow and we get better at what we do at the university as well.
Me? I don't talk about myself. Actually, I worked for IBM for 38 years. Kind of moved all over the country. Ended up here in Charlotte. My last job, I was the site initiatives manager for the city and the import-export regulation executive. Need my mic. 38 years with IBM corporate. Something else. IBM corporate.
I think it's where you hold it. Yeah. There you go.
I was with IBM for 38 years. Like I said, I moved all over the United States, but ended here in Charlotte. My last job here, I was the import-export regulation executive and the site initiatives manager for the city here in Charlotte. As far as charter schools are concerned, I was actually served on the state board when they first started opening up charter schools here in North Carolina. And I served as the founding board chair for KIPP Charlotte. And I also served on the school board for the Charlotte secondary schools. Also had the pleasure of working with Victor on several charter schools. And that's kind of how we met back in the day. But I've done Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I've done communities in schools. I was a board chair for PAL. In my job at IBM, I served on a lot of different boards. So I have a lot of experience with schools and how schools run and how they're supposed to be run. And charter schools, I think I know more than I want them. Charter schools, but been around a while. So does that kind of answer your question about my background?
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Cedric.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. You have a great program. Talk to us a little bit about transportation. How do you get a kid from Arrowwoods, Carowinds area to UNCC? Is that something that you guys have run into as an issue or not?
So, yeah, with the STEM pre-college program, yeah. I know, right? So with the STEM pre-college program, the school system, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, actually provided 2 buses for years that actually stopped at satellite schools throughout the area. And we also had support from the surrounding school districts, where Union, Gaston, Cabarrus County Schools, and I know I'm forgetting someone else as far as the school districts. They also provided 1 bus also that would actually stop at a satellite school and actually transport the kids. Unfortunately, that all stopped around 2005 as the expense became too large for the school systems to actually absorb. Cost of gas and expenses as far as paying the bus drivers and things of that sort became a little bit too much. Right now, we're very much dependent on parents providing the transportation. We are seeking opportunities to re-collaborate with the school systems in that regard as far as bus transportation. As I've recently had conversations, as a matter of fact, with an assistant principal at Gaston, who he actually wants to send a group of students from his school to participate in the program. And he recognizes that need as far as bus transportation. And so we're looking at grant opportunities also to help fund it. But unfortunately, as you can well imagine and also understand, cost of gas is just absorbent right now. And so it's presented a very unique challenge as far as trying to address that transportation need.
Okay. Next is Tony.
Yeah. Like, my question is, why don't we concentrate on black institutions, some black institutions like colleges and stuff? You ask anybody what is a good college, they say Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Michigan. So if our colleges are not good enough, why don't we bring them up to the Yales and Harvards and the Princetons or Michigan State? But like, I'm an artist by profession. I travel quite a lot. And if you ask any black person what is a good school, they don't say Johnson Smith, and they don't say Winston State. They say Yale, Harvard. So what can you do and what can we do to have young minds concentrate on black institutions?
So I can tell you what I do personally. If someone tells me what's a good school, Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I had the opportunity to go to many of the schools you named. And it was obvious for me and my family, Southern was the right fit for me. And I say that in hindsight. So that's why if someone asks me what's a good school, that's a good school.
Okay.
Sure. I believe in advocacy, to be honest with you. And I don't think that our alumni advocate for our schools as much as we should. North Carolina A&T State University is home for me. It always will be and always has been. And even though it's the success rate it's had with its engineering program and also with its business college, unfortunately, it doesn't receive the shine that some of the other institutions do. We're the #1 producer as far as black engineers. And unfortunately, it's one of those little-known black history facts. We do need our alumni to engage. We do need the general public to advocate. But we also have to recognize some institutional barriers. Funding is greatly different between, let's say, a Yale and A&T as far as that's concerned, or any other PWI as far as that's concerned. We still have that disparity. And until we address those disparities, unfortunately, we're going to see this tiered system
as far as our schools are concerned. I'd like to see our schools on equal footing as far as funding. And until that's taken into consideration, I think we're going to see more of the same, unfortunately.
Okay, we have Winston and Arlett's. Okay, we have Winston and Cedric. Cedric, you have another question?
Yeah, we got a lot of parents that work on Saturday.
Okay, we just said Winston and Cedric, and then Stephanie, and that would be our last question. Please, 30 seconds, a minute.
Can each of you speak to some measurable goals you have or quantifiable ambitions you have for each of your programs?
So the STEM pre-college program historically has had a 96% graduation rate as far as its students actually graduating from high school and going on to college. It was 66% as far as those that were actually going into STEM majors and careers. Unfortunately, with the program, and I will say fortunately also, parents kind of drive student participation. A lot of the kids that I've had experiences with have told me that, I'm only here because my mom and dad said I got to come. But the interesting piece to that is that after college graduation, I've had a good number of them come back to me and say, I appreciate you. You hung in there with me. Your mentorship made a difference as far as that's concerned. No, I didn't go into a STEM major as far as that's concerned, but it did help me realize I'm a liberal arts kid and I've thrived as a result of that. And I didn't have to spend any time trying to figure that out by the time I got to college. So, I think there are benefits as far as, again, that exposure in general.
Oh, yeah. Did the other two want to answer?
I'll just respond real quickly. For the Cato College, we just finished our 5-year strategic plan. And in that plan, we have benchmarks. And so it's pretty detailed in terms of what the goals and expectations are. We'll be revisiting that every year. Several of those goals and expectations are tied to diversity, equity, inclusion in terms of increasing the number of Black faculty and staff from underrepresented groups. All of that is a part of our strategic plan. And so that's a plan that we collectively put together. It's also a plan that we collectively have to address and we'll modify along the way. But I can tell you that we have clearly defined indicators for whether or not we're being successful, and we're going to have to hold each other accountable for what's in that plan. So we either meet the goals and the objectives, or we change the goals and objectives, because that's what we committed ourselves to.
Okay.
And as far as the 100 is concerned, kids that stay in our program, I can't say we do have 100% graduation rate. And I think a lot of that is because of the influence of the parents, and we have them actively involved in our program. In fact, we have a parent support group. And like I said, we have the Triple P mentoring. And we do what we can to help mitigate any issues or any problems that's going to come up that's going to keep that kid from graduating. And that's why we have the 100% rate.
You spoke of community partners. Could CATS be a community partner when it comes to transportation? A lot of brown and Black parents work on Saturday, but there's a transit system that runs right to your door. Is there conversations currently with CATS, or is something in the future?
Not currently. Potential for the future as far as that's concerned. Unfortunately, as you're probably well aware, CATS is having their own challenges as far as just being able to cover their current routes right now. And so it's something that we are definitely considering for the future as far as that's concerned. But again, there are some things that we need to address, especially since I just started in this role on July 1, as far as making sure that we have the proper foundation to be able to explore that potential with CATS, and also making sure that CATS has the resources and that they can safely and securely address our young people on their bus. It's something that we also have to take into consideration.
Okay. Steph.
Just the comments about HBCUs. I went to the Cal University. So it is just about, promoting, in our own communities that these are good institutions. But what I really want to say is that Congresswoman Adams is trying to get the Ignite bill onto the floor to be voted on. She's got a lot of support from the other legislators in Washington. She's trying to get that bill on the floor, but it is funding specifically for HBCUs, the infrastructure. So a lot of our institutions, when we talk about money coming in, our alumni don't necessarily give as much as a Howard or a Yale. So our physical buildings at our HBCUs are crumbling, right? So when you visit a college campus as a student, just think you're a high school student, you go to this place and it has it's like all the bells and whistles, it has a jacuzzi in your dorm room or something like that, and then you go to another, no offense, I never forget that I went to Grambling University on a college visit, and the student union building didn't have air conditioning in Louisiana at that time. Like, it's not like that now, but I was like, no. Sorry. No, shut the comment. I just wanted to say it was about the Ignite bill. So please, write in to support to try to get the Ignite bill put on the board. Sorry.
Yeah. And if I, just a 10-second comment on what you just shared and what our gentleman asked earlier. For our students, for our young people, the main thing for us, I think, is to make sure our students have options. If they have options, then they can go anywhere they want to go. If they're properly prepared and they've been successful, that gives them the choice of anywhere they want to go. And now we can say, have you thought about the HBCUs? Have you thought about PWI? All of those are available to them. I think most importantly is making sure our students are prepared so they know that they have options available to them. And then it's a matter of helping them to choose what's best for them. The options are really critical for our children.
Okay, it's very good. To add to what Stephanie was talking about, Representative Adams, she is suffering from COVID at this point, so we need to let her know that she has our support, those of us who support her. But my question is very simple. How do you communicate your programs into the schools, and how do you continuously promote your programs in the high schools?
And I'll come back and I'll address that in just 1 second. I also want to make the announcement. We're actually, the 100 is helping sponsor the HBCU fair. It's actually going to take place on September 2nd at the Convention Center. And so we'll make sure that that information is also made available. As far as promoting the program, initial contact is actually made with principals within the area and also the surrounding school districts via the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. They actually have a distribution list that we take advantage of. After sending those emails, we've actually done some targeted phone calling to the schools as far as that's concerned, especially those that may be STEM magnets, especially since they have a similar focus as our program does as far as that's concerned. Along with that, yes, ma'am.
Contact the counselors in
Yeah.
schools.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're doing that, and we're also targeting the churches. We'll be providing announcements as far as our historically Black churches within the area, especially on the Batesford Road corridor as far as the program. And we've had pretty consistent support as far as the pre-conference program in particular from those Black churches.
We are running out of time, so we'd like to say thank you, gentlemen, for being with us this morning. Know that you can always go and on our website and you will be able to review what you've shared with us this morning, and many others will be able to do that as well. But you all have done a fantastic job, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We may take a couple of announcements. We have an announcement. Okay, Stephanie. Quickly.
So, yes, I'll be quick, sorry. Many of you reached out to me over the past few weeks, and I just wanted to announce that I've answered the call that I filed for school board on this past Friday. So I'm running for school Board of Education District 4, which is the east, mostly the east side, some center city like Cherry neighborhood, all the way to Mint Hill. Just quickly about me, in order to run, I had to give up being a Black Political Caucus chair. That's how important to me it was. Most importantly, I'm a CMS parent, attorney by trade. Really want to affect some changes in the school board, give it a fresh approach so we can change the trajectory of our students.
Natalie, did you want to make an announcement? Okay. Well, we're going to
This Saturday, the greatest festival in America, celebrating the culture, history, and art of Black people in Charlotte. A vibe outside 1600 West Trade Street, right in the shadow of Johnson C. Smith University, beginning at 4:30 p.m., ending at 8:30 p.m. It will be amazing.
Any other announcements? Once again, Jeff.
I'd like to remind you that if you know anybody who needs an air conditioner, please contact me. We're giving them out on this coming Saturday. But my information will be in the announcements.
Thank you all again so much for being here. You all, it's once again done a fantastic job at sharing information. And the next presenter we will have will be Jenny Hopper, with GSS Community Program Coordinator. And they will be here on next Tuesday. So thank you all for coming, and come be with us again on Tuesday of next week.